I'd like to call this meeting to order. Notices being reported to the Inquirer, Carrier Post, Clerk of the Township, and the district website, and members of the Board of Education, and posted in the Board of Education offices at 17 Ariel Road, Blenheim, New Jersey. Please note this meeting may be video or audio recorded. Will everybody please rise for the flag salute? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Fritz. Mrs. Gowan.
Here.
Mr. Givens.
Here.
Mrs. Gilch.
Here.
Ms. Gord.
Here.
Mrs. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Donald is absent tonight. Mrs. Dentino.
Here.
Mr. Marks.
Here. I did hear from Ms. O'Donnell. She will not be able to attend tonight. At this time, we're going to move on to 1.3 board goal settings. Ms. Terry Lewis, the floor is yours. And please introduce who you brought with you.
Well, thank you for having me back. My name is Terry Lewis. I am from New Jersey School Boards, and we recently made a new hire. And this is Lori Banlow. She's going to be covering Burlington and Ocean counties.
You can hold it. Yeah, she can take it out.
She's going to be covering Burlington and Ocean counties. I got it. I just hate it. And
We're
she's
like the
been
news
with,
now.
she's been with us since July the 2nd. So, but she has had at least, oh my gosh, 10 years board experience with 2 different boards, one in New York, one in New Jersey. So she's really familiar with the way boards operate. So we're just going to show her the way that we do things around here. So tonight we're going to do goal setting. I'm going to pass these around. And if you will remember correctly, it moves a little faster if we all talk. So I just figured I would provide that small friendly reminder. So tonight we're going to do district goals and board goals. And if you turn the paper over that I just gave you, it really gives you a good explanation of what the 2 of them are, okay? So the district goals is something that everyone here owns. Really what these are your priorities for the upcoming year. You're saying this is important to us. This is what we want to work on. You're going to set those here, and it's up to your administration to carry those goals out. It's up to you to monitor them throughout the year to make sure that they are being worked on. The other one are board goals, and they belong to the board, and they are set really to improve your knowledge processes to make sure that the board can maintain its efficiencies and its effectiveness. So those are the 2 sets. You turned my mic up, didn't you? I knew it. So last year in front of you is a recap of what you did last year. So before we get into those, I want to ask you all a question. And you know what my question is going to be. I ask you this all the time. It's been a year since I've seen you. There's been a lot going on in the district. So why don't you give me a recap of some of the really good things that have been happening here over the past year, just to bring us all up to speed.
Well, I think one of the things that the board is pretty excited on is we did hit one of the goals with more SROs in the buildings.
You have more
We
SROs in
went
the building.
from 3 to 5 now. So that's moving the right direction.
Good, 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 good. You're all very quiet. I know you come to meetings at least once or twice a month, and I know you talk about all the good things that are happening here, so I need you to share them with me.
Well, I'm new. I just started in January, and what I've seen is the students come to these board meetings and they share the different achievements they've made in the different areas. And it's really enlightened me to all the good things that are happening into the district.
It's nice. It really affirms what you do as a board, and really it affirms what's happening here in the district, all the good stuff. Thank you for sharing that. I know that there's way more than that. You have a ton of schools and a ton of kids and a lot of good programs. So what are some of those great things?
How many counselors did we add to our staff last year?
That's what I was just.
Was it 6?
we doubled our counselors. So it was 6, 7, 10.
10,
I
right?
said 10.
So we doubled our counselors to 10. 10 total or 10 additional?
10,
There were 10 additional in the 23-24 budget. And there were also additional professionals hired, including a supervisor for the first time for our student clinical services. And so those counselors and social workers and different professionals that are really for the first time aimed at dealing with typically developing students and their challenges. There's always a lot of resources, as there should be, for students with special needs, but just kind of post pandemic, we see that in just regular kids, they have
Yeah.
struggles at times. So I think that board saw the need to address that, and that was very beneficial. So we're looking forward to a second year of that.
Excellent. That's super. Good.
We've been meeting, before board meetings on Monday with curriculum with Tim Monroe. He's had supervisors come to talk to us about different things that'll be going on. So I think we're going in the right direction there. We do have a good meeting. And whenever we have questions, you know, we're not to hesitate to ask and we get the answers. So we do
Good.
meet curriculum.
We also have PBIS, positive behavior, that is working in our schools to cut down on discipline problems.
And I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with some of the counseling and stuff that you just talked about. So good. How many schools? You have 11 schools, 7 schools?
11.
11. That's what I thought. I was telling Lori that I think you're the largest K-8 in the state of New Jersey. Is that correct?
We are.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
We've
We-
updated a lot of policies.
Yeah, we revamped the
Oh,
dress code policy, and I thought it was a very good collaborative effort with input from all different, areas. Right, yeah,
Good.
writing that,
good.
still
So,
tweaking a little bit here and
Dress
there.
code, discipline, you guys are taking a look at revamping a lot of those. Good. So you're looking at everything from all different facets of the community. Very nice. Very nice. So you've been busy.
I'm most excited about the mental health edition. And I believe Oaks Integrated Health is part of that.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Um,
Good evening.
where the social workers or the counselors were all on their own before, maybe one juggling multiple different issues. There's going to be much more comprehensive services.
Yep.
With this partnership, and it's an area that society needs as a whole, but especially for the children. And catching up with COVID and all of that, and psychological, economic challenges of society today. It's even more challenging than it was a year ago or a year before that. So I'm really, I think that's, to me, that sticks out in my mind, really, is a great accomplishment. And the gentleman who's running it, it's very capable,
Good.
knowledgeable.
Yeah, one of the additional things in that whole package that we're working on through Oaks Integrated and different resources is when, a student makes a poor decision, says something and needs clearance before they can come back to school. Used to be somewhat arduous. They could oftentimes be sent to an emergency room where hospitals can deal with them, but it's hours to do that. And now, working with the Ed Services Commission and different grants we've had, we can send students that make poor decisions out. And sometimes it was just words. And if they have a clearance, there may be a consequence for speaking inappropriately, but it's not so prolonged anymore that the student could be back in school where they belong as soon as they can be.
Get them the assistance they need as quickly as possible and then getting back to the learning environment. Good. Good.
Yep.
And I don't think we realize, I think we're just starting to realize like what happens sometimes out of school areas in a child's life has a direct impact on their learning here in school. So we need to be able to deal with them where they are. So that's really nice that you're doing that. That's perfect. Excellent. So let's take a quick look, unless you have any more you want to share. Okay, let's take a quick look at your goals from last year. So your first one was to increase the student achievement in ELA and math as measured by the STAR results. How did we do?
That definitely needs to stay on there. There's always room for improvement in that.
I tend to agree. I mean, you can increase it and you can increase it. And to me, it's not done until it's 100%.
But
So you want to leave that on there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The number 2 is to address student discipline measures, and you are looking at chronic attendance issues, consistent application of policies and SROs for all schools. Now, I know that you don't have SROs for all schools, but you did say that you have made a significant, progress there. So that's really good. You're working on your policies. And we haven't talked about chronic attendance. So how's that working? Which is really a tough thing to tackle.
yeah, that's hard for a board to maintain that. That starts at home and comes to the buildings, in my opinion.
Well, yes and no. So it's a law. Kids have to come to school. And I guess it's really trying to target those kids. I don't know what you're using for chronically absent. Is it 10? 10 absences, more than 10 a year? Is that what the state says?
Is it 10?
I think it's.
Yeah, yes, I wanted to comment, but I know, Tim, we have the kind of a graduated scale. I know you don't like Mr. Tro and I answer it, Terry, but
That's
sometimes
fine.
we have to get
That's
the
fine.
context.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Tro, good evening.
We did do some significant work with this year, monitoring.
We do monitor student attendance closely. It is something during our monthly principals meetings that we will periodically, not necessarily every month, but periodically throughout the year, I'll update them with where we are, compare it to past years. Many of them set goals for reducing that. So the policy is mirrored based on what the state guidelines are that they recommend. And so the state defines chronically absent as students who miss 10% of the days that they could be in school. So if a student enrolls in school and they're only enrolled for 100 days, say, because they move in December, then chronically absent for them would be 10 days, because it would be 10% of 100. So for the typical student in all school year, it's 18 days or more. So the policy is written that there are certain benchmarks, 5, 10 days, where their parents are communicated with, counselors and administrators are supposed to reach out, develop attendance action plans. And then when they hit 18 days, they're labeled as chronically absent. And then that's also what triggers our policy. Has attendance probation in there, where they can't participate in some after school activities if they're not actually attending school regularly until they reestablish regular attendance. They're taken to municipal court. The parents are taken to a municipal court because it is a misdemeanor to not have your child in school. I think I said correctly with misdemeanor, but it is something that can be addressed through municipal court. And so we try to implement that consistently and do a lot with communicating with the parents and so forth. So we have been successful in reducing those numbers. COVID, of course, been a slow recovery from that. We do have a fairly strict policy, I would say, when it comes to attendance, where we only excuse the days that the state excuses, which would be religious holidays and various, there's several other things like that the state does, take your child to work day and a couple of others. Routine illnesses and so forth, we have a fairly strict policy with that, where they count towards those 18 days. They're not excused per state law and guidelines. And so we hold tight to that to try to make sure that people understand that they need to have their child in school and consistently so that they can achieve appropriately. So I think we have made some progress with that. I don't have the number right in front of me, but we definitely had a decrease last year in the number of students who were chronically absent from the year before.
Terry, can I just add to Mr. Tro's statement? When we follow the board's policy and we have to enforce it, it becomes difficult. There are a lot of people in our school main offices that track things. There are a lot of administrators that get involved. We let parents know at different intervals with recorded messages, with letters. Sometimes people will go to the wall and we're just we don't have the liberty to look the other way on the board's policy, so unfortunately, it gets difficult. This one case in point that continues on as we speak, a case from last year. So, there's a lot of good people that try to enforce it. It's unsung work, and no one wants to call and say, hey, we really prefer your child to be here, but that's the most important thing. So there's a lot of due diligence out there in our living buildings.
Yeah, you're not the only district that faces that. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you're following it, you're doing all the procedures that are set out and a lot of them are mandated by law too. So you're following all that and, you end up taking somebody to court because you're not sending your kid to school, but if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. So what do you want to do with goal number 2? You want to think about it for a minute? Because that was pretty big. I think some of the stuff from what you've told me is working as far as discipline, and you've got some other things in place to take care of some of the social and emotional things. You've got new SROs, additional SROs. You've been looking at your policies to make sure that, they say what you need them to say to give the staff what they need to be able to enforce them. So I'm not sure. We'll leave it for now. Then you can decide when we're done. So goal number 3 was that increase in social and emotional and DEI learning and professional development opportunities for all staff. So tell me about goal number 3. I'm going to put Linda on the spot here. I know you've had curriculum meetings because you told me. So are you talking about a lot of this stuff in there? Or some of it, not a lot.
Some of it,
Yeah.
some of it. I personally like to see more professional development opportunities for staff. More different contexts, I guess, instead of the same old, but
More targeted?
more targeted. I like to see, I know some of the professional developments on scoring and testing and stuff like that. I like to try to maybe not erase that, but go a little bit further. And
Add to it.
The district had started, Department of Curriculum Instruction had started to infuse social emotional, more importantly DEI training actually before the school year began last year. Mr. Tro started with certain cohorts and it kind of put into the 24-25 school year. And I think that we also enhanced our staff GCN trainings to reflect this particular goal. So I know that I give a very summative, Mr. Tro will give a more detailed answer, but prior to the board's goal, we were trying to follow a trend out there with these 2 particular things. And I think that we have done a very good job of the exposure to our staff.
And I think this is one goal where this is a really long-term goal. Because it's not something that you're going to achieve in year 1, year 2, year 3. This is really long-term. And I always say that you want to keep a goal on there until it's kind of ingrained into the fabric of your district. So if you are taking a look at your curriculum and you're infusing and it's ingrained, how are we going to put SEL in here? What are we going to do about DEI? Are we looking at our curriculum with that eye? Once that is ingrained into the way that you look at it, then I think it's okay to take it off. But after 1 year, I don't know.
Mr. Marks, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Mr. Bilodeau. Mr. Bilodeau, the gentleman who runs the mental health, social,
Mr. Klein?
Mr. Klein. Hasn't he incorporated a lot of this type of teaching at, I know we're talking about curriculum and in the context of the curriculum program, but outside of the curriculum program, the teachers just separate themselves in reference to all of the things that are mentioned in the DEI. I had felt like Mr. Klein had created a pretty comprehensive program to also address, tell me if I'm wrong or mistaken, also to address and add to in-servicing for the staff and the teachers. Because outside of curriculum. Like we had said, it's all,
Mhm.
it's its own thing. It's its own issue in every area of
Yeah.
their lives, every area of the building, you know, for all staff.
And it affects curriculum too.
Yes.
When you look at it.
So, because I'm on curriculum too, and,
Yeah.
I think of it, yes, it's part of curriculum, but I look at it as a wider school-wide thing, and I remember the wonderful presentations Mr. Klein gave, and I was very pleased to see that, that was gonna be, I believe, if I remember correctly, a big part of it in address. Did I misremember, or am I speaking out of turn?
No, you didn't misremember. Mr. Klein is a very fine young administrator, and in his first year, I think he really exceeded a lot of expectations. As a former counselor himself, I certainly think as he got the resources, the district resources under him, professional development, having a common language to treat the whole child, student, and sometimes that goes beyond obviously our brick and mortar buildings, but there are things that happen in that student's life at home. And sometimes I think having that the ability to just reinforce with his staff that there are things to address other than just straight discipline for a bad decision. And I think that he will continue to grow that. He has a lot of grants and a lot of
Yes.
resources, and he is bringing a lot of very smart people on board in that
Yes.
department, and it's going to really assist this district and this community.
One of the things I remember is he was going to teach, or somehow within that programming, empathy. Couldn't be taught. And empathy needs to be taught. It's not something that you develop a natural skill at. And in today's environment,
What,
today's
today's
environment,
environment, oh, yeah.
reference to empathy, and life and the craziness of life, sometimes, you know, that's something that has to be deliberately taught and followed through. So that was part of it, and I thought that was tremendous.
It's great.
So-
Mr. Tripp wanted to add something to that.
I think some of the specifics you're thinking of are the Character Strong education program that our counselors are doing. So one of the things we were able to do and that the counselors had asked for, and one of the reasons we expanded the number of counselors in the district was to give them more time to actually be in classrooms and teaching preventative type lessons with students instead of being so reactive, which was often what they had to do when we only had one in each building. So they've been going in. They started last year. This year, it's going to become even more formal in every building where they're going in. I think it's going to be about twice a month, I believe, is what Mr. Klein and they've settled on, where they'll be going into each classroom to teach these character education lessons. And then I know I've sat in on a number of faculty meetings in which the counselor will share what some of the topics, as well as additional things that teachers can do with them in between lessons to make sure that it's not just a one and done lesson, but it is getting into the fabric of what we're doing. So that's one huge piece, as well as a lot of the work we're doing with multi-tiered systems of support, trying to get line with the state model. And so we've done a great job, particularly in elementary school, of monitoring students' academic performance and getting them intervention. But then what do you do with students that are struggling behaviorally, socially? And so we've got all sorts of plans for that and systems that are being put in place and new tools that we've purchased to help us do a better job of dealing with the whole child instead of just one particular area. So those are just a couple of the specifics I think that you were referring to.
Was. And when I forget names, like Mr. Klein, it's no slight to him. I have no memory for names, titles of books, but I can tell you everything in between. But it's just it's a mental
He's doing a
thing.
great job.
Yeah, it's not a, you know, that's my little thing. I have problems with.
So considering the fact that that goal was new last year and that you've already started some really good considerable work on that, I'm assuming you want to keep that one.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then we can move on to number 4, creating more opportunities to engage parents and caregivers in their students' educational process.
I don't think that we met this goal. We had discussed creating a committee with parents board members, staff, teachers, and we just never got to that.
So that's one we definitely need to leave on and improve on that then.
I think so.
Absolutely, yeah, I think we need to, engage parents and caregivers more of an opportunity. Whether it be, and I know it's hard for parents to come to something at night, but just give them the opportunity, put it out there.
Zoom.
We need something. It
They
is
will
hard,
attend
like
a
we
Zoom
have,
meeting.
we've had things and parents, it's a small group that show up. And it's hard because kids are running here, parents are running here, some parents are working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
But we definitely need to do a better job at this and
So
getting more
Great.
people.
I'm going to piggyback on that. I think it could be increased, but I'm gonna ask that we make that a little more specific as far as what exactly that we're looking for to happen. What is it gonna look like? And then how are we measuring that we achieved that? So those are my.
Well, I think maybe a committee together would be the first step. Deciding who should be invited to this meeting, whether it be Zoom or in person.
But it's the board sets the goal and it's the district's, like, there's their responsibility
Yeah.
to how we're going to.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you need to decide what you want it to be. And if you want to be more specific, what would that look like? You know, what are you looking to attain, I guess?
Oh, I definitely think it needs to be more specific. Yeah, not just engage parents, engage caregivers. We need to put more of a point and more specific area of where we want to engage. So
So let me ask you a couple questions though. What is the purpose for you doing this? Why do you want to do this?
Transparency?
no, I would like to see more parents and caregivers involved.
Involved in what?
Involved in school life. And like I said, I know it's hard, but we don't have enough parents involved. And I don't know that we have enough opportunities to get them involved. We need to kind of measure on where, maybe send a questionnaire out on what parents, caregivers would like to see. I don't know what the answer is, but I know we need to get more people involved. We need to have more of a whole.
So, but I want to ask you again, what is the reason for getting them involved? What are you trying to accomplish?
Input?
They can come to a meeting.
But
They
they
can
don't
contact a board
go.
member.
Right.
So, I mean, if it's to engage them in their child's education, that's going to be a little bit more specific.
Mhm.
But if it's to garner more support for the school, that's going to send you in
Yeah.
another direction. So that's why I keep.
I'd
asking
like to
you,
see
what
them
is it that you
engaged.
wanna-
Engage more in the education side of their child. So many parents now, I mean, don't. Well, I remember when my kid came home and did backward math, and I'm like, backward math, okay. Like the curriculum has changed so much from when we went to school. And I don't know that parents understand the whole concept of what the kids are learning. And they may, I don't know. But I think sometimes parents are kind of at a loss when it comes to the new concepts that we're doing in the school, which is not a bad thing. I mean, but I think we need to get parents more engaged in the education of their child. That's just my opinion.
Didn't know something, yeah, the teacher or something. And if they couldn't get anywhere with their teachers or staff, then they have the board open to come out to, like if they're not getting anywhere that they need to.
So when you have activities, when you do things, do parents come out? Do they support the school?
Depends what the.
Depends
what
on-
the situation is.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I recall, when we set this goal last year, part of it was the report cards, like parents not even checking off the report cards that, so we did work on doing some of that type of stuff, but I think you had brought up kind of going to where they were with like Facebook and stuff like that, and letting them know of things that were going on. And then we had that there are, you know, PTA, like different long groups, I guess. There's not something that's the district that's responsible for, but that's going to the Mr. Trojan.
You're absolutely right. And this is primarily Steve, that this project is heading out, but I some point. The website that just launched. Something to tell. Also, in addition to that, this flyer that we have, we're going to be able to get messages that we push out and make them also be posted to Facebook. Instagram. So we are going to be increasing our social media presence.
So we'll have a district account that puts it out. Okay.
District account.
In social media. Okay,
Okay, so outreach.
Expanding our footprint. As far as letting people know what's-
We are, but we also have a lot of English as a second language, and a lot of those people are. And not that we don't help them, I know that we do help them. So the new website will translate? No. My worry is that some parents don't have some of the opportunities to have the computers and the social media. So I don't know what the answer is.
they have a phone.
They do.
Honestly, I have found out that that is the easiest way to reach most parents, because they pretty much, that is their lifeline. They have that.
Well,
So if what you're doing with social media, I think it's a great idea.
I didn't realize that was gonna translate.
This website.
Okay.
This is what parents are sitting, scrolling. So this is really what we're targeting. It's the number of.
I haven't seen that.
Mhm.
So I think you can leave it on as a goal, but I would probably change it a little bit. Because it says create more opportunities, but I would be more specific with what you're doing with the website and your social media content. Because I think it's a great
So
concept.
expand the social media.
I would. You know, and it's really nice because you can post one thing on the website, you know, an important message, and then send it out through your social media pages, and everybody can click the link and it takes you right back to the website. That is, that's,
it's
Part of the
Yep.
way the system works is you literally do that on
okay.
the principal, they would go and say, put this on the website, put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, send an email, send a text message. Also,
So all of the students that we have as English as a second language, that'll all, we're gonna incorporate all those languages into that,
we're getting sent
okay?
to the website, you already go to the upper right corner, you'll see the same thing.
Okay, all right. All right, I didn't go, I just wanna make sure all the languages are included, because I know we have a lot,
This site is very.
okay, okay.
And I think even as a user, I can change my own Facebook page. I can change the language on mine.
Yep.
So, yeah, that would help.
No, I know, because I know when we spoke
Yeah.
with Beth, a lot of the students were talking to their parents, explaining to their parents. So
Yeah.
this way, with that translation,
Update my cards. Well, talk later.
so I think that'll make those parents feel more involved too than their child coming and saying this is like, at least they'll be able to, right? Okay,
And I guess it's important, you know, it's important to point out too, that when you talk about engaging with, you know, parents and caregivers, that there is a certain cultural difference between the way people had education where they came from to where it is here, and they don't realize that they can come and ask questions and find out, because that probably wasn't the way it was where they came from.
no,
So, So you want to keep that one, but you want to change the wording a little bit. Okay, so far we're at 1, we are at 3, and we are at 4. 3, though, you wanted to, and I'm gonna leave this up to Kia. Kia. How do you want to change what that says to be like kind of more specific? Three. We know we're gonna change 4, but you had mentioned on goal number 3 that you thought that it should be more focused and measurable.
No, she was talking
No, that
about-
was 4. That was 4.
That was 4?
Yeah, that was
I thought it was
But-
3.
but I-
Okay, sorry, my mistake.
But I think
Being
3
recorded.
should, I think 3 should be measurable too. I wrote some things down, like how number 2 is with the different bullets. That's how number 3 should be. Like, look at curriculum. More specific, for professional development and say what kind of professional development. And continue and monitor the programs, the character program. And like maybe, monitor how many times that if they do go in twice a month, like they're saying they're gonna do that. So that's what I just wrote down, some notes to make it more specific.
No, I agree.
I like that.
It's measurable, so you can, yeah.
I like putting the objectives
Yeah, I
down,
think
so.
they all need to be measurable. I think everything we need to know what it is exactly that we are looking to attain. Sorry. The microphone. But we need to know exactly what we're looking for, like what is our intended outcome? So I think we need to get specific on all of them really, just to make sure they're
Okay,
consistent.
Yeah, even goal number 1, like we
Yeah.
did increase it by 0.1, whatever the minor thing. It should,
Percentage, are we
Right.
looking for a 20% increase? Are we looking for 80, in the classroom, we set goals as far as percentage of students that we want to achieve and what we're looking for that. So I think it should be the same as the district.
so did you want a percentage of growth
In goal 1,
or did you want a percentage increase?
Well, how would we measure it? And then I was thinking in reference to the professional development, maybe, would we do like a survey? But did we get a baseline? We have to do.
Well, that would be Tim's area to be able to,
We don't care how they do it. We just.
we
wanna-
just want
we
to,
just
we
want
want
measure
to
this.
measure the, right.
Bring us back some data.
Yeah.
But you mentioned on goal number 1, like, are you looking for a specific target? And if so, what is that target?
I think we did set a percent.
5%, wasn't it?
I don't have that. Do you have?
It was 5,
Okay. Okay, on grade level. Would you be comfortable with another 5? No, the same goal.
See, what possibly.
increase it.
Okay,
Go 7, it's a good number.
okay.
Yeah, I would,
You're increasing the increase also.
yeah, we want to, we don't want to go. Yeah. We want to work to where we know that they're
Yeah.
getting the information and keeping it in reason, right,
Make it realistic, not set
Yeah.
our
Right.
faculty up for failure.
right.
Now, the only one we didn't talk a lot about was goal number 2. So. I mean, where are you on this? Do you want to keep it? Do you want to say no? We just want to really concentrate on the other 3? I mean, you've put a lot into place here.
I would like to still see the student discipline measures personally, especially now that Steve is working on different areas that
So
continues to increase.
you want to change that word address to monitor?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
good, yes.
Okay. So you're going to be monitoring chronic attendance. You're going to be monitoring the consistent application of policies. We're not necessarily going to monitor the SROs,
No, we have,
I
we
can
met
take them
that.
off.
but is there anything else in there that you want to the number of, disciplinary infractions, because if you're monitoring that, obviously you can get data on that. Not that you're gonna say, hey, we want a decrease, but can you show us data so that we can see that this is having an effect?
Right.
If not, then maybe we need to do something else.
That works.
I don't want
Okay.
to open a can of worms.
Sure you do.
Really, I'm always the one.
So we're just gonna keep the three, monitor student
No, you're
discipline,
going with, oh, yes, I'm sorry.
chronic attendance issues and application of policies.
Yes, we're doing away with the SROs.
Right.
You, seen anyone address yet or start to look at AI?
Yes.
Again,
Yes, and that is actually a really hot topic these days. So a lot of people are taking a look at it, making sure that they have policies. The hard part with AI is like
I know.
does everybody here know what it is?
Yes.
And you're like, yeah, I sort of know what it is, but you don't know how kids will be using it in school.
Exactly.
So if it were me, I wouldn't make it a district goal per se, but I think that should be a board goal for each one of you to get some information on how AI affects the school district and affects student learning. So that when those policies and those things come down, you can have a good, robust conversation. Because now you already know, like, these are, and there's a lot of trainings out there on that right now that you don't even have to leave the comfort of your home. There's webinars and all kinds of stuff that you can pick up. But I would say that from a board perspective, you need to really bone up on that because that is really an up and coming.
Yeah. Good.
Carrie, and
Everything.
And that'll go on
we had a
board goals.
policy meeting last week. And board went through an array of different policies and I did give them, didn't ask for them to approve it on the first reading, but I gave it to the policy, Strauss Esme's AI policy.
Yeah.
I wanted them to just begin to become familiar, as you just mentioned. I
Yeah.
also stated that in 2 months at the school board's conference, that a lot more information will probably be saturated, hopefully down there. It's a big and powerful topic.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that members that attend probably have breakout sessions they could attend to learn
I
more.
think there
And
are
then
some there.
assemble back here again and start drilling down what we want to do because it's fascinating. On one hand, it could be very powerful for teachers, for students, and could be kind of like the internet, a bit of a demon also that you can have AI do pretty much term paper in 38 seconds.
Exactly.
So we don't want that. We want to have fair parameters around AI. It's so new that we need to learn as much as we can before we set something in writing.
This is a terrible analogy, but it is the new and improved cursive writing. Nobody writes in cursive anymore because everybody types, right?
Mhm.
Then I use my thumbs, I use my fingers.
I do.
I do
I
too,
do, I
but
do.
kids, they don't care about cursive, they're all
Yeah.
typers.
They can't read
I don't
any.
even know what it is.
They don't even really care about spelling. Why do I have to do spelling, Mom? Because there's autocorrect.
Yep, my phone does it for me.
They
My
use
laptop does it for me.
Letters to make
There's
sure.
autocorrect. I don't need to learn how to spell. This will figure it out for me. Now AI is just a bigger form of that, so it's gonna be interesting. So to go along with what John said, check out all the county meetings. And we may not have any locally, but take a look at some of the other parts of the state, because they do have some AI coming up in those. And you can do those virtually if you want. So there's always a virtual component to those county meetings. And then I think we might even have a webinar out. But the more information you can get, the better, because you're gonna have to take that policy kind of apart and
At least
look
to
at
start
it.
to address it.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's cybersecurity. I don't know if there's one for AI. And have you heard of any other school districts doing anything hard, like a hard change in the way they do things with phones
Oh, yeah, that's a big topic too.
in reference to
I
the
think
AI.
Cherry Hill just passed a policy. And
Post that.
who was the other one that we heard?
Pennsylvania.
Somebody else was
I know
asking
Pennsylvania
for it.
had a big.
Is it in Abington?
Yeah, but I think Cherry Hill just did theirs and somebody else was following up too. And I, it was somebody from the South or Central.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're gonna start seeing that too.
Thank you.
So it's a good time to pull out that phone policy and see what it says. So let's go down to board goals then. You already have one, that's your AI goal. How did you do, let's look at your goal number 2. Did you take a look at your committee structure this year?
Yeah.
Your committee and meeting structure?
Mhm.
Did you make any changes?
Yeah, we consolidated a lot compared to what,
3 years ago, we had 12. I think we're down to 9.
Committees?
Yeah.
Two are periodic.
Yeah.
yeah, but they're not all, yeah.
We have like maybe 6 or 7 main ones.
And a lot of them meet constant, like
Mhm.
curriculum is every month. Policy as
Policy, yes.
whenever.
when they
Been what,
meet.
every month you mean?
Pretty much.
Mhm. So we have it narrowed down to the most important ones. And have the members active in them.
Is there any way you can fold those other ones into like some of the more active ones and end up with kind of like 3 main committees? That's just a food for thought.
That's tough.
I think that's tough for a
That's tough.
district this size
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
I
we,
think,
we shrunk them down over the
Yeah,
years
I-
quite a bit.
I'm
Get-
comfortable with what we
Getting to
have.
3, in my opinion, would be a challenge.
yeah, I think, yeah, 3 is just too small, man. I think we're doing fine with what we have.
Mhm.
I
Okay,
mean, I know you were used to when you came in, we had boom, 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 boom.
yeah, you had tons of them. I
Yeah.
was like, what?
Yeah,
How
and
do you do
nothing
that?
was consolidated,
Yeah,
but we've
a lot are
consolidated, yes.
Okay. So one of the things that we look at, and most districts that I deal with have 3 main committees. That's it. And they have negotiations. So I shouldn't say 3 because negotiations is always separate.
But are they as big as a school district?
Mhm. Yeah.
But like
Like you
Mary,
said, some
Mary
of
Jo
those
said,
only
we don't
meet
meet.
periodically.
That's what I'm saying, we don't meet. All those committees don't unless needed. I mean, a lot of times it's as needed. I think the main ones, we meet. Like, we meet regularly,
Mhm.
the main,
Yeah, buildings and grounds, maybe quarterly, maybe.
Mhm.
So you always throw that one in with finance.
No, finance is different. Yeah, I would like it.
Because, well, those are the big
What is that?
finance facilities, you know?
Transportation, cafeteria.
Yeah, all in one
Security we
area.
have in there.
That might be a great idea, because transportation doesn't always meet like that often.
Exactly. So it can all,
yeah, but but if there's an
But-
issue, I mean, we meet if there's an issue in transportation, or if there's an issue, I think. You make us aware of what's going on.
How does that look if they have 3 committees, like you mentioned the district that?
so the advantage, there's advantages. The one advantage is 3 committees, 9 members, everybody's on one committee. And you don't really miss anything because if it's a, you know, I don't know, a Buildings and Grounds Committee, they only meet 3 times a year. That's okay. They're gonna be absorbed by another committee. So everything that they look at will be in a committee that meets once a month.
I kind of like that for this knowledge, awareness.
Right now, we have finance, business, budget, supply, and purchasing as one. Instruction and curriculum is another. Personnel and professionals is another. Negotiations, which is
That's kind of.
Yeah,
that's-
Yeah,
policy and planning. Special services, transportation, buildings and grounds, and security.
Maybe those last 4 we can look at. But I'm not knowledgeable of all those other areas, so I don't know what they entail.
we're in trouble now.
I'm comfortable where they are.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with what.
I'm comfortable with where we are. I mean,
How are you?
Is anybody else not comfortable
I
with it?
defer to my
I'm
colleagues.
fine. I'm fine.
I'm
Are
good.
you gonna leave that one alone?
Yeah,
And then your other goal was to continue to monitor the academic progress of all student groups to ensure they are given the opportunity to succeed both academically and behaviorally.
And again, that's something that's gotta be continual. Monitoring, I believe. I don't think that's something you can take off.
That's a long-term goal that needs to stay on year after
Yeah,
year.
I
There's always
think
room
there's
for
always room for improvement, there's always room for growth.
So you want to take off goal number 2 and substitute that with the AI, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Yeah.
Is there anything else going on that you think that maybe we missed, that maybe we should start taking a look at in any of these goal areas?
Actually, I was thinking, I just jotted down a few ideas. Work with the superintendent to improve effective communication, collaboration between the superintendent and the board. A lot of times we are blindsided by things, so I think we just need a little bit more back and forth.
No surprises?
Right. We don't want surprises.
But is it more of an, so a board meeting is when that's the opportunity for the board to meet and discuss those things? So I don't know, do you want to take it out of a meeting? I'm not sure what it is you're looking for.
No, it wouldn't necessarily be in a meeting, more so, this is happening and just to be on your radar.
Okay. You run a Friday report or anything?
Yeah.
We get superintendent's notes, which is good,
Yeah,
but a lot of times it's like, oh, my goodness, we didn't know anything about this. And we're voting on things that we don't know about.
well, help me here. It's on your agenda, right?
Right.
And has a commit, if it's on your agenda, a committee's looked at it because you have a committee structure.
Right.
Not always. Certain things happen that there was no discussion about,
Okay,
that end up on a,
So I think one of the things, the piggyback off what Ms. Johnson was talking about is we kind of discussed that with Mr. Bill during his evaluation where we wanted more informative information, not walking into a meeting and getting bombarded of why we have 80 people sitting in here.
Mhm.
okay,
And that was discussed during his evaluation period.
okay. I think it's probably the better way to handle it.
And it
Not sure
was,
how
it
you
was
make a goal
discussed.
out of it.
Yeah, I think, we did discuss that, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't at that meeting.
Oh, that's right, because you're conflicted,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
yeah,
Ah,
so, yeah,
That's why.
but it was
Okay.
discussed,
Okay,
and we all. No, but we did discuss that.
okay.
Yeah.
Great.
anybody else?
I have nothing.
I do another one, sorry. I don't know whether this would be under board or district, but to support the district's staff recruitment and retention. We're having a problem keeping people.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure it's
Stand in line.
everywhere, but
is.
we need to do something.
Jerry, one of the things that, I don't know if it would be a board goal, it's often discussed, we have a fairly vibrant preschool program. We're fully funded. We cannot educate the amount of resident students in pre-K because we don't have physical space to do so. So we're achieving less than 2/3 of what we're only servicing about 2/3 of the students. And there are hundreds of students in both age 3 and 4 that can't be educated. So perhaps there could be consideration of a goal to go from talking about it to perhaps securing an architect, have some type of strategic plan to put a 12th building in Gloucester Township Public Schools to serve hopefully preschool, but more students than that But the premise behind it is that we could educate more. And the board's been very good. We have done things to schools, in some cases, in my own opinion, not the schools I would pick, but they were the schools that had space in them. It would give an opportunity to reset that. We have tremendous growth in this town. They are building, those students will come from all corners of Gloucester Township into our buildings. And so just something from going from talking about a preschool to putting something down on paper and moving forward with something tangible and have.
I'd like to call the meeting back to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Here.
Scout.
Here.
Mr. Gibbons,
Here.
Mrs. Gilch,
Here.
Ms. Gore,
Here.
Mrs. Johnson.
Here.
Ms. Dentino.
Here.
Mr. Marks.
Here. May I have a motion and a second for executive session, July 22, 2024?
Second,
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fritz,
Yes.
Mrs. Gallagher,
Abstain.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilch.
yes.
Ms. Gore,
Abstain?
Mrs. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Dentino,
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
Yes. May I have a motion, a second for regular board minutes, July 22, 2024?
So moved.
Second,
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fritz.
Yeah.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Gallagher,
Abstain.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilch.
Yes.
Ms. Gore,
Abstain?
Mrs. Johnson,
yes.
Ms. Dentino,
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
Yes. We're gonna move on to public comments for agenda items only. I see none. We are going to move on to report of the solicitor, Mr. Long. Am I supposed to have to report? Yes. Nothing to report. Nothing to report.
But just if you have anything additional, that's not an
Oh, no reports.
Outstanding, thank you.
I can do that one.
Thank you. See if you need to talk to Andy about that. 6.0, report of superintendent, Mr. Meldo.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, members of the public. Thank you, Mr. Marks. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, members of the public. I'd like to ask for a consent resolution this evening for items numbered 6.2A through 6.6
And
N as in Nancy.
may I have a motion, a second, please?
So moved?
Second?
Any questions?
Yes, I do. Under 6.6 J. Superintendent recommends the approval of termination. 4 of these have declined position. Do we know why? Did they ever start? Obviously, they didn't start, but do we know why they declined?
I don't have that information this evening, Mrs. Johnson. I can ask, I can give you a call. I'm sure if there has been interaction with HR staff, they've got some anecdotal notes, so I can get back to you.
Okay, I would just be curious to find out if the reason why they declined the position, and was it because of money?
We see that a lot on our monthly agendas.
Mhm.
Position.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I did, 6.6C. I see we had a resignation of an autism teacher at Union Valley. Are we actively looking?
We are.
We know. Do we have anyone as of right now? I didn't see anything.
I do not think at this time, but I know that that has been posted and we're screening, and it's hopeful we'll have someone
All right.
onboarded.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fritz,
Yes.
Mrs. Gallagher,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilch,
Yes.
Ms. Gore,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson,
yes,
Ms. Dentino,
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
Yes. 7.0 report to the business administrator, Mr. McCollum.
Yes, asking for the board's consent agenda on 7.0, which begins on 7.1 through 7.7 C. Sorry. That was me hitting this.
May I have a motion and a second, please?
so moved,
Second,
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fritz,
Yes.
Mrs. Galnick,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
I'm gonna be a no on check 134-179. And a no on check 134-295, yes on the balance.
Mrs. Gilch,
yes.
Ms. Gore,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson,
abstain on check number 134-190, yes on the balance,
Ms. Dentino,
Yes.
Mr. Marks.
Yes. 8.0 old business, Ms. Vilda.
Mr. Marks, I have had the facilities department reach out. Mr. Marks, I've had the facilities department reach out to the main stage. And I've asked, I have not heard back, but I've asked for a table in regards to Pumpkin Festival. And I've had some conversations relative to what we might do as far as letting people know that we are still hiring staff here in Gloucester Township Public Schools. Okay,
Awesome.
I will give an update once they've gotten back to us.
Thank you. 9.0 new business.
I had, and I'll just share with the public, I had put this in a superintendent note, but this was something that one of my colleagues forwarded to me. And it was an article that New Jersey 101.5, the radio station, had done, and it talked about the most efficient school districts in New Jersey. And I just wanted to let the Board of Education know that Gloucester Township Schools was of all the districts, and they're in excess of 600 in New Jersey. And Gloucester Township is 29th. And this was on 2022-2023 school district data. So I know that we're doing an awful lot. We have great district here, a lot of great people, and we continue to be mindful of tax dollars here. So I just wanted everyone to know that. I just wanted to, one other fact, Gloucester Township is a K-8 district. It has a specific subset that there's only 72 districts of the 600 plus in New Jersey that are K-8s with that have student enrollment of 751 or greater. So when you look into that, we are the 6th most efficient district of the 72 there.
Outstanding. Thank you. Anything else?
No, sir.
We'll move on to 10.0 public comments. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, stand up here at the microphone. Say your name, please.
Good evening. My name is Mrs. Porter, Kelly Porter. My little boy Gregory is a student in, I think, Loring Fleming this year. My son was in the district in prior years and always been here through medical, after medical daycare, he attended your kindergarten disabled program at Blackwood. My son is on the spectrum. He has severe sensory processing disorder and autism and a communication impairment. It's been a real challenge. My husband and I moved to Stratford for 3 years, a little over 3 years ago. In a hardship we had, we were forced to move out of our home in Gloucester Township. And the only reason I say that is in coming back, we moved our son back to have the great school that you have. I know we have it because I grew up here. My husband came from here. We couldn't wait to bring Gregory back here. But it's a real challenge when we as parents try to advocate for what's best for our children. And I'm sure all of you would do the same. And I have 2 daughters that are done college that are not special needs, so I can see both sides of it. Some people understand it and some never will. As a mom, absolutely disheartening to me, and I'm gonna try not to cry, to think that we moved back to Gloucester Township, Mr. Bilodeau. And I've emailed you to meet with you because I've had challenges with the director of CST and my son's placement. I'm not here to belittle anybody or make myself feel big by talking bad about them, but I'm here to advocate for my son. I got his placement today in speaking to Dr. Rose, and I absolutely have never had him in a gen ed setting, nor did his IEP ever allow that. My son had an LLD placement in Stratford for 3 years because they had no MD setting, learning and language disabled. In my son's placement this morning, Dr. Martin put my son in a gen ed setting with pull-out support. I will spend every day advocating for Gregory in proper placement, because when you talk about attendance, my son would cry not to go into classrooms when he didn't understand the lesson. My son is not used to a setting of more than 12 children. My son is anaphylaxis. He cannot, there's just so many factors in that. It's just like his school bus. He's always had these accommodations, and I'm just here as a mom to ask you to meet with me and my husband, because I don't want to be mean. I just want to be a mom. And this is not what's best for Gregory. And I promise you I didn't come here to cry. But that is my 10-year-old son who cannot handle his severe sensory processing. He's never been in a classroom of 25 other than a homeroom in Stratford when they didn't have any other choice. And we were shopping for out of district placement just prior to moving. That's why I moved back home. I wholeheartedly just want to do what's best for him, but it's really a challenge when I have been emailing your director of CST since June when we moved. We actually moved in May, and I asked our old superintendent to allow my son to finish school because I didn't want it to serve him in a few weeks left, and she allowed it, and we commuted him. But there's no reason why a parent is emailing you multiple times a month begging for resources, because CST completely disregards mine and my husband's concerns for my son. I have neurologist report, I pediatrician. I'm very, I don't know what else to do. I'm not somebody to ever, I'm just angry at this point, because I would never put your son or your child in a position that wouldn't set him up to thrive in my work environment. And I don't know how we can pretend that's not happening here. I'm sorry, is my 5 minutes up?
No. What's 3 minutes?
I just want to meet with you and make everything right for Gregory. I don't want to go back and forth with your director of CST. And I say that with the most respect, but I will not sit idle to her misplacing him intentionally. She does not communicate with me and my husband. She sent us a letter in the mail following an email I sent to Erica Wisely. I never heard back from Erica Wisely. I don't know what is happening there. I found my son's caseworker when I was speaking to Dr. Rose today on the portal that I got the email today for. Miss Renee Michelle helped me with my son's registration. She was absolutely amazing. But when it comes to Dr. Martin, she's not that way with me and my family. And all I can say is that if we can't do what's best for Gregory, I don't want to be forced to go to New Jersey Department of Education every single time she violates, or I feel like she's not doing what's best. If you don't have an LLD placement, we don't just push him into gen ed settings with 25 kids, or roughly. This doesn't, as a parent, I'm just here to ask you to meet with me and my husband to fix this before it just turns into something it shouldn't be. It should be positive, and he should have friends that are like him. He shouldn't be afraid to go to recess because the class is too big. He shouldn't be afraid of lunch because it's too noisy. He shouldn't. There's so many factors in that. And the way that Dr. Martin has completely disregarded that for my son is completely heartbreaking. And I feel sick every day from it, because I thought we were coming back to have him in an empty setting. That's what he's always had. He had learning language disabled there, and she just put him into gen ed setting with 2 pull-out supports. And I don't understand how anybody could sleep at night like that.
Make it happen.
Okay. Mrs. Porter. Let me give you the basic answer. You certainly can meet with me. Okay, I will make sure that my assistant reaches out to you tomorrow. We'll set something up. Okay. I will tell you though that after meeting with you, then it probably would become a little bit more complex. But I certainly want to listen to you and make sure your voice is heard, and you certainly always should advocate for your son. My role, I have to go to many professionals, and in this case, I do have to go back and speak with staff from special services. But at the end of the day, what we want to do is give your son the best educational placement. So you are going to have that meeting. And from there, I have to obviously do some more research and we're going to work it together. Is that fair?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gregory was nonverbal until he was almost 3 in that medical daycare, and your school gave him MD pre-K. I think that's how you disabled pre-K at Blackwood. I don't think that program, I know it moves around. But I would never, in moving to Stratford, I never thought it would just dissolve or I would never agree to that. And I just can't place him into something that I will physically have to carry my special needs son into every morning because he's afraid of not knowing. The class size, all of it. I just want to be a good person, but it took everything in me not to bring the parents that I know that had issues with your CST department that are actively members in the community here tonight. Like, I just wanted to bring them in and just let them tell you that I'm not the only one. Because I'm angry. I'm angry that my son, I've been trying to say this since June in our move, that I just want to do what's best for him, but it's really hard when you have somebody who completely ignores your concerns and they don't even email me back. I don't know where Erica Wisely is, but at least a return email would be nice. I mean, I've never heard of that.
Well, I have to let you know that Mrs. Wisely is no longer a staff member in Gloucester Township Public Schools. She is gone on to another employer, and I'm apologize that that email you sent to her did not get responded. If you can get to that email, can you forward it to my attention?
I think I did this morning when I
You
sent
did.
another email. I just
did.
keep emailing you. I'm just gonna keep emailing
All right.
you.
Do you have her information?
I need
Well-
to make sure that they know that it's documented for, since June, I've been asking.
My
that
only
people-
witness is Mr. Wells, but the board office suffered a Comcast failure today. So every email all day long didn't come here. So I know this sounds like I'm giving.
Does that look like dog ate my
My
homework?
dog ate my homework, but yes.
I was
So
wondering-
it is back up, and if your emails there failing that.
Resend all the emails, please.
Resend everything.
Yeah.
Resend them.
Absolutely.
I told
yeah,
Dr. Rose
gonna
at
get
Lawrence
into it.
Fleming that I was gonna go to the New Jersey Department of Ed for emergent relief on Friday if I didn't hear back. So I guess it's good I came because I would have never,
Do you have her information?
I just
Yes.
need,
Okay.
I just need somebody to like,
Mr. Bilodeau, is it possible that it's a case, if she's been gone for 3 years, that maybe the child has to just be reevaluated to see where he needs placement?
Potentially, yeah, often districts, so when they have an IEP from a prior district, you honor what was there for a period of time and tell our staff have enough time to reevaluate the student. I don't know where that process is currently, so.
Is it possible other people have also emailed and aren't getting back any answer back because she's left?
that
Um,
email to Erica.
Typically, when people don't get a response, Mr. Gibbons, they call the superintendent's office. So,
called
or
for me
show
to
up
go to
at the
CST.
public meetings.
They say call Dr. Martin's office. You need to communicate with CST. She doesn't communicate with me. She doesn't acknowledge me and my husband email her. And it's very like a week or 2 or 3 apart. I mean, it's not, I've been doing this since June. I think there's been 3 emails. But I can't send my son to school on the first day and he's not gonna thrive. He's going to melt
do
down
anything
in your
else?
foyer.
Can you squeeze it in? If she can.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a good.
Reach out to
person.
Mr. Bilodeau tomorrow.
Okay.
He-
I'll
he-
have-
We'll
I'll have-
reach
I'm gonna
out.
have Mrs.
We'll
Cavallaro
try to
reach
get
out
this
you.
done as soon as possible. Hopefully this week for you.
Her phone number?
I can't put him in that setting and I don't want to be unkind, but I will file where I will go to any constituent or anybody who will listen to me. I need somebody to help me advocate because he has the documentation. Everything is there. It's like I'm being forced into another setting. And I've
Mhm.
never seen anybody get away
Let-
with it.
Let's start with your meeting first and give us the opportunity to make things right, whether it's in this direction or that direction, and then you do what you feel you need to do as a parent.
There's no.
Sit down, Mr.
LLC
Begg.
Setting at Loring Fleming. There's no MD setting. I spoke to Dr. Rose this morning and I was just like, I'm gonna have to see you in Trenton. I can't send my son on the first day. And I don't want to threaten him. I'm just saying like, I'm a mom. You wouldn't put an autism nonverbal child in a classroom. You know, my son is verbal, but he still has sensory overload. I just can't reiterate to you that I feel broken over this. We moved back because the schools are amazing, but we shouldn't have to fight every week or I mean, when I registered Gregory, Mrs. Michelle was so amazing to us and I thought, oh, this is a new start. Like it should not, I just want to do what's best for him. And putting him in an environment that is too large, my son won't go to school. And then you talk about attendance. There's a lot of factors there. We actually had to go to a neurologist in Stratford and get a letter that he came in after homeroom.
Right.
I wanted to sue them for his faith. Like, and I'm just being a mom, right? We're all, like, I couldn't understand that they didn't have a setting. So we started to look for a different environment. I said to my husband, we're going home. I wanted to come home.
I understand. All parents do, you're done. Sit down, Mr. Bilodeau, and hopefully that gets the ball rolling in the right direction for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mrs. Gilch, I remember you from Cherrywood when you were knocking door to door when I lived there many years ago when my girls were in like middle school. And I think you told me about the college scholarship. I think you're amazing.
Thank you.
I haven't seen you in years, but I just want you to know.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, Ms. Moore.
Denise Coin. Yeah, it's
It's a little tall.
pointed at the ceiling. How do you lower it?
Just pull.
We're loud enough.
Pull it down.
The top, the mic, the very top of the microphone. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I listened to the planning session earlier and something that was said confused me a little bit. Mrs. Johnson said that there's a problem in the district with hiring and maintaining staff. And somehow that turned into building a new school, which you would need to staff. Can you explain that transition? Because it's not logical to me at all.
Well, if they're, good evening, this is going.
Good evening.
If there were a new school, and let's just say in this example, it was 30 preschool rooms. We have preschool classrooms in Mullen Middle School that the staff members are already there. We would just transition them from out of a middle school environment. We have the same thing at Glen Landing, and we have in other elementary schools, preschool. What ideally we could do is take the existing staff and put them in to the new building. I'm not saying that you wouldn't need additional staff, but the one nice thing about the preschool program is that it is fully funded in the state of New Jersey, no taxpayer dollars, no local taxpayer dollars fund that program. And there is detail on what the state recommends the staffing structure be. You know, certain if Mr. Cho or Ms. Petrangelo would know exactly what a building would take, but I would say for the most part, many of the staff are just going to be in a new physical spot. They're already here.
Okay, but I didn't hear anything that addressed the issue of maintaining staff that you have and hiring additional staff.
Employee retention.
Correct.
All right, that was second point. Yes. Well, in the goal setting, that really wasn't brought up again after Mrs. Johnson mentioned it. What we are doing though is often it comes down to money and what wages are. I think the Board of Education has been negotiating in good faith with different collective bargaining groups. And they intend to pay more money, and even non-unit wage earners, the board is addressing those on a consistent basis because we are competing against neighboring districts and we don't want to not be competitive. So
Right, but are you sure that that's the issue? Or are you sure it's not something else? I mean, how do you know
There's no
what
way to
the
be
issues
possible on
are?
any of it. It's morale and money.
Oh.
You got to keep morale up.
often people, morale, money, often people are leaving us because of proximity.
Hmm.
We have professional staff.
Are we
that-
asking these questions though? I mean, when somebody leaves,
No,
do
they're
you-
offering it. Some people live in Egg Harbor Township. And Egg Harbor will offer the same amount of money. And now instead of driving from Egg Harbor up to Gloucester Township, the person has to cross their own township and work for the same rate of pay.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm just saying, are you sure you know what the issues are, what the problem is? I mean, you can't fix something if you don't know what's broke.
We did send out the surveys, which
Every-
a lot of them won't take time to fill out an exit
Yeah.
survey.
Everyone gets an exit survey now, but they are not compelled to take it. They get one. And they are scanned for reasons. But they're not compelled So that often makes it difficult on how many responses you get. To form an accurate opinion, like what is the exact reason?
So are you only asking people that are leaving, or are you asking the current staff that you have if they have issues? And if so, what those issues are?
We're not asking the current staff.
Maybe that should be something you should look at?
Should we ask them why they're staying?
No, should you ask if
Well, they're
they
not-
have any current problems or concerns that they think aren't currently being addressed before it comes a problem and they want to leave? Maybe it's something you could fix before it gets to that point.
Taking an advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Rodriguez?
Hi, Gina Rodriguez. I want to thank Ms. Gore, Ms. Dentino, Mr. Tro, and Ms. O'Donnell for helping us out, the support staff, GTSPA. Reach a nice contract, I hope. So thank you for putting up with us for many hours, many hours, but we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you.
Gina.
Any other comments? I have none. I will move on to board member comments. I would like to thank everybody taking the time to come out tonight. Enjoy the last few weeks we have of summer. Everybody, good night. Thank you for coming out. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Hi.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Thank you.